Hello, I'm Bob West, and today I'm going to revisit my opinions on Supernatural's finale, Carry On. And hopefully it goes well. A warning in advance, I don't have strong rage or strong support for this episode. I also hate watching my own videos, so I will not be watching my original finale opinion first, so who knows how different my opinions are now. Not me, that's for sure. But starting anew, if I had to pick a single word to describe this episode for me personally, like the overarching word that I would use, boring. I was underwhelmed. I was never hooked into a plot because there wasn't much of one to get hooked into. There were so many emotions that could have dominated this episode, and I was incredibly surprised that boring was the one that was the loudest. Related, I think the real problem, or root problem rather, is that this episode 100% was purely useless, like just absolutely pointless. Inherit the Earth was also a boring as fuck episode, but it checked all the boxes of wrapping up the season or series, including a little sit on the table in the bunker and toast the things we lost, which was more closure than we managed to wring out of Carry On. On the one hand, I'd say that they would have better spent their time if they made Inherit the Earth a two-parter and just made Fighting God properly epic, but honestly, there was so much wasted dead space in Inherit the Earth, I'd hate to have seen any more of it. Let's take a second to pause and reassert something I've said numerous times before. Andrew Dabb was not the only showrunner, despite the fact that no one seems to be able to remember this. He was co-showrunner with Robert Singer. The finale was not Andrew Dabb's idea. It was at the absolute very least Andrew Dabb and Robert Singer's idea. Unless Supernatural runs very differently to most shows, the decision wasn't made without input from all 8 other executive producers and the network itself. So yes, Dabb may have written it, but he did not make all of the decisions that he put into the script. The job of the showrunner is also to suggest a narrative and then combine the collective ideas of the executive producer and writer team to try to streamline it into one cohesive plot. And then his job is to stand up and say, I love it, for the network, no matter what he actually feels about the plots that he may have been forced to write and oversee. His episode track record is overall pretty good, and a lot of the things fought for under his tenure could have only been fought for with his blessing. And I anticipate the network took a far more active role in demanding how the final season went. Besides that, he was showrunner for an episode in which God introduces a plot that horrifies Becky while she lists off things that sound suspiciously similar to how the pre-pandemic script was written. That's not oversight, that's a cry for help. Anyway, since we have no idea who the actual driving mind is behind the decisions in the finale, I will be saying they when I assign blame, and by they I do not mean Dabb. I mean whoever made the decisions, be it one person or a collective of people. And now that that's cleared up, what the fuck were they thinking? Specifically, they had a choice: end the series in an open-ended manner or complete the series definitively. If for no other reason than the giant cash cow Supernatural is, there is no reason to have done anything other than keep it open-ended. Keep the option open if any of the actors ever did want to come back, for a reboot like Dexter, for a miniseries, for a movie, who knows. The only thing this does is close off their options or make themselves scramble later to try and retcon or shoehorn in a new plot. And the trade-off is literally nothing. The argument for ending it completely is closure, which is not something they provided. Well, okay, let's be fair. To some people, they got a lot of closure out of it, and more power to them. Don't be dicks to people who are just kind of happy with it. As long as they're not being massive cocks to you, let people enjoy things. You know, I will never understand someone seeing someone being happy and just being like, I want them to stop being happy. I want them to not have enjoyed this thing they enjoyed. Just because you don't like it, go fuck yourself. Stay in your lane. Let non-problematic people enjoy shit. Shit drives me up the wall. Back on track. Closing the series off was unnecessary. The only reason I can think to do so would be a big cathartic reunion in heaven. Was cut because of COVID, so we didn't even get that much. I think the decision to speedrun past defeating God himself in favor of a rushed half-baked epilogue is questionable at best. The episode itself, a music montage is an overused trope, but it has its place. There are some episodes that can make a decent use of a music montage. But 3? 3 of them? No. Let's break some shit down. Episode is 42 minutes and 13 seconds, including the end credits and the Road So Far segment. 40 minutes and 13 seconds without credits or that. Easy math, let's say 40 minutes, which is already a short episode. First music montage, them in the bunker, 2 minutes and 48 seconds. The second music montage, post Dean's death, 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Third, Heaven and Sam aging, 2 minutes, 36 seconds. So that's a 8-minute, 54-second combined total. I wasn't counting the second Carry On rendition, so let's round that up to 9 minutes. So 22.5% of the episode was just music montages. That's almost a full quarter of this episode. So honestly, that's your first problem. And beyond that, the pacing was just trash. This had way too much crap thrown into it. Honestly, to me, this felt like a Stephen Moffat Doctor Who episode. Like, they had 90 minutes of crap they wanted to cover and were handed 40 minutes, and they were like, should I cut things? Nah, fuck it, speedrun. Things they wanted to get through: Sam and Dean establishing a routine, Sam and Dean enjoying a pie festival, a case, more on this in a second, Dean dies, Sam mourning, Dean in heaven, Sam living his life all the way to its end, and a reunion in heaven. That is a lot of things for 40 minutes. You know how I know? Because I watched it, and it was too many things for 40 minutes. That is only enough time to give everyone basically a glorified verbal description of all those things in the hopes that you'll be willing to fill in the blanks yourself to make it interesting. Let's go back to that case. The introduction of the monster, the research portion, the setup, the confrontation, and the result are all there. This case is presented exactly in the same formula that they all are. The problem is the formula is designed for a 43-minute episode. Establishing shot for the vamp mime starts at minute 6. Just shy of 11.5 minutes later, the last vamp's head comes off. This case is given a little more than a quarter of what it normally would have, which isn't enough time to do it justice. If a case was all we were doing, that'd be cool, but it wasn't. So we didn't have the time to give it what it would have needed to work. So a quarter of the episode is music montages, a quarter of the episode is a case, 7.5 minutes is Dean's death barn speeches, leaving only just a bit more than a quarter episode for Dean to reunite with Bobby in heaven and for Sam and Dean to meet up again, except wait, we also have to include almost 3 minutes for a pie festival, so like I said, too many things for the time. Poor pacing, etc. Also, just an aside, the whole Road So Far portion of these 42 minutes is hilarious, since nothing that happened in the series up until this point has any unexplained impact on the finale, other than the fact that they have a dog now, which wasn't actually in the Road So Far montage. So, back to the content. I'm pretty sure I talked about this in my last opinion video, why his wig was so bad. I think it's unnecessary but a little interesting that Jenny was there. I really, really don't like the music. Mostly, though, they suffered from commitment issues. Well, looking at this season, and especially the last 3 episodes in particular, it's really obvious that they suffer from commitment issues. But in the finale, they took a safe route. I once told Matt many seasons ago that if Supernatural ends, I want it to rip my still beating heart out and grind it to dust when it goes. I used pretty much those exact words. Matt had teased me about it right before the finale, wondering if I'd get my wish. I didn't. They were too afraid of upsetting fans on all sides that they walked the middle ground so hard that they alienated about half of them anyway, especially with Dean's death. They didn't want it to be hopeless and terrible, so they tried to have it be like, look, they're in heaven together, Bobby is there, Jack and Cass are there too somewhere probably, even the car made it. But they didn't want it to not have impact, so they tried the whole Dean was looking at applying for jobs. They had, at several points this season, had Dean talking about wanting to do something else, not just hunting. Make up your mind, is this tragic or is this okay? If you think we like the character, which you should because we do, then it is already, baseline, not okay. So go for it. Rip our fucking heart out already. Don't make us Easter egg sleuth for the job app. Make it front and center that he wants out. Make his "it always was gonna end like this" line like 10 times more tragic because it's an obvious lie to make Sam feel better. Just hurt me. Is it sudden and tragic because he wanted out and is now faced with suddenly being hit with this and trying to reassure Sam? Is it something he sort of felt was an eventuality in a similar way advanced thanatology was after everyone died? Don't try and hedge and let us fill in the blanks. You picked this narrative, so fucking tell it. All the way. You tell it start to finish. Lay it out. You owe us this much. I personally don't think television shows should make you feel good at the end, especially shows like Supernatural that really are angst-ridden emotional roller coasters. The themes of Supernatural have always been kind of slogging through the shit and cherishing the good moments because they're hard to come by. I think the words "this character deserved this" are stupid. The show's not really about these characters getting what they deserved. It's not about happy endings. It wasn't conceived to quote-unquote send the right message. Is Dean letting himself die showing that suicide is preferable to living your life? Not really. But even if it was, it would just be showing that Dean thought that suicide is preferable to living your own life. The show's job isn't to give these characters what they deserve. As for giving fans what they deserve, you aren't going to be able to do that anyway. There are so many people with so many different wants for this show. You can tell because so many people really did actually like the finale. Maybe not in the circles all of us are in. Certainly doesn't seem like it on my algorithm-tailored Twitter, but taking stock of all of the Supernatural Facebook groups I'm in, it seems like just about half. So they have to make a choice, and I'd expect them to make one with some fucking backbone. I would have loved a completely open ending, just another case and move on, or whatever and move on. What does the future hold? No one knows. Or if we kill one of them, just do it. No heaven. Let's not fuck with that what does or doesn't come next. Let's not make us sit down and think about how time works in heaven. If Dean in a single drive spans the time until Sam arrives in heaven for a reunion on that bridge, are they going to stand there for 3 more minutes until Dean Jr. can arrive and reunite with Sam? Are we then stuck there for 3 more minutes waiting for his kids? Do we ever get off this bridge? Since decades are passing on Earth, why is heaven stagnating? There are too many questions. Don't open that can of worms. I liked Jensen once said that he had a dream for the finale, which was just Dean giving up the keys to the Impala and riding off on a motorcycle, clearly alone. I wouldn't have minded. Kill off Sam, force Dean to go live his life alone. Tragic, open-ended. Kill off Dean, make Sam go off. Tragic, open-ended. But it's sort of nerfed immediately when they try to reunite them after a few minutes of music. Is it even sad anymore? No, it's just sort of annoying, really. If you wanted to kill them, just do it. Make it hard, make it tragic, and don't try to sew it up at the end. If you wanted a nice ending, then don't kill anyone. Make it a struggle, whatever it is, and then leave it open-ended. You fucked up trying to have both. As for the way Dean died, again, boring. I've said before, I personally don't care if it's something mundane, but they needed to do it better. Any case could be your last, sure, okay, that's fine by me. It was super shoehorned in, mostly because your case lasted 11 minutes. I wouldn't have minded a grander death, one with theatrics, or one of him literally throwing himself between death and his brother, or death and one of those kids, but whatever. If it's going to be a basic bitch death anyway, I would have liked to have seen it be one that we've already established was on his list of possibilities.
Stabbed by a ghoul in a graveyard.
So there's that. And then, last issue, it's, again, portrayal. Script aside, dumbest dialogue and circumstances, you can get a meaningful and emotional performance across. There is some bad acting out in the world, but it's actually a lot more rare than you might think. Editing and directing actually play a huge role in whether or not a scene reads well or not, and a good editor and director can pull a decent performance out of just about anyone, and a bad director or editor can completely ruin a good performance. I'm a little dubious because Singer just let Jensen and Jared off script for a majority of that barn scene, and almost none of what they came up with improved the script in any way, and a lot of it was way worse. But Jared and Jensen's performance as we see it does not hold up in the slightest against any of their previous episodes or seasons. So some combination of acting, directing, and editing just kneecapped this piece from the get-go. And that's that. Just another mention. People aren't wrong when they say that found family is one of the cornerstones of the show and it is largely ignored in the finale. I'm not touching on that a lot here because pre-pandemic there was supposed to be a huge reunion with their found family. Would I have liked to see that? No. Boring. Listen to the rest of this video again, but that was your found family. Should they have properly mourned Cass? Yes. More than that, should they have literally acknowledged Eileen exists at all? For the love of Jesus, yes. She disappeared. Sam full-on had a panic attack, but I guess we just don't care anymore. We don't even at any point mention that she was, okay. Does Sam marry her? Who knows? Commitment issues. I don't have the patience to go off on the 3-hour rant I want with erasing Eileen, but whatever. It's been good touching back on this, but honestly, I'm done talking about it. Not to be abrupt, but I've run out of things I want to say at the moment. Y'all behave in the comments section, you hear? People are allowed to have other opinions, don't be a cock. But feel free to share your own. Just, again, be polite, you animals. Okay, I'll see y'all next time.